Euro Agent Bob strikes again for the, I don't know, 436,000th time. I don't know how he does it. I still don't. But we're going to check out this really sweet Fiat today. Let's get started. Now, we don't do a lot of holiday videos, any kind of holiday oriented, but this is going to be our Easter special. We actually have 4 little like Beanie Baby things that were my daughter's when she was little. We've got them hidden in certain places. Here's a picture of all 4 of them. And while we're filming, it's going to be Easter eggs. See if you can find them while we're going around the car, opening things and doing things. Wait till after the credits roll or at the end of the video. We'll actually tell you where they all were. But while we're checking this really sweet car out, you're going to see some Easter eggs, because it kind of is an Easter egg. It looks like a red Easter egg, doesn't it, Mrs. Wizard?
It's just the cutest little thing.
This is a 1969 Fiat 600. It has a tiny little water-cooled engine in the back. Obviously, it's Italian. And it is really, really cool. It is right-hand drive. We're going to go over, like Doug DeMiro does, the quirks and features. It's really odd, some of the things, the way they work, but at the same time, it's really cool. Let's go ahead and take a walk around this thing and check it out. So here's the front of this really cute little Fiat 600. You can see there's no radiator grille or anything like that going on. It has a cute little bumper. It looks like a smile. We can see these little plugs here that would fit an American-style license plate, but you can also see the little holes where the larger, wider license plate would go, which would be original to this car, normal for this car. As we go around to the side, you can see it's a tiny little thing. It has these white walls. I'm not sure if the tire is a white wall or if it's an aftermarket thing. I'm not sure. We can see number 7 painted on the side. Very shiny, clean paint. As you come around to the rear, that wasn't a very long trip, Mrs. Wizard.
No, this is a very small little car.
You can see it says Fiat 600 on the rear trunk, which we'll take a look at underneath here in a minute. There's our tailpipe. You can see that it has the fins and things for airflow there. And down this side, equally shiny paint, everything in nice shape. That was like 10 steps, Mrs. Wizard.
It really wasn't a whole lot, and actually it kind of looks like a toy on screen.
It is. It's very, very small. Well, let's look under the frunk. Kind of hold it up for you guys to see. In the frunk is the gas tank. It's literally sitting in your lap. You can see there's a little bit of storage area. You could put a few small things, but not a whole lot. Maybe a suitcase or some groceries, a few bags. You see up there, there's a reservoir right next to the gas tank. It'd be really easy to do a fuel sender on this. It's literally right there. Then we can see over here there is actually just a blue bag. That's our windshield washer fluid. It's just literally in a plastic bag. There's our spare tire. Maybe during an accident, if there was a collision, this tire would actually help. Maybe kind of propel or bounce it off, but I don't think safety is the same as it was today back in 1969, obviously, having the gas tank like that. But the Volkswagen Beetle of this era would have been the same way. So go ahead and get this closed.
Well, ladies and gents, it's out of habit to sit in the driver's seat, but in this case, this is the passenger seat because this is a right-hand drive car. Let's shift over. Isn't that the absolute most cute gauge cluster you have ever seen? It has just the absolute bare minimum of what is necessary. We can see it has 30,423 miles, and it says it can max out at 80 miles an hour. Not so sure that can happen with our 3-speed transmission, but they're being hopeful. We can see that there is a gauge for water, one for fuel, one for oil, and one for generator. So not a lot going on. We have a few little dials on the right, and in our center section here, you can see our ignition is right here. We have controls for the windshield wipers, the headlights, and an interior light. Up here, I have the tiny little ashtray, but still looks nice. We do have tiny little flaps here for our defrost, which you notice that the dash is metal, and you'll see a lot of metal accents all the way around. If we look at our door, you can see the metal is still showing with our black door card as well. It is all black vinyl. We have a control for our door, and in one way it opens, we close it, and to lock it, you pull up. It's amazing this plastic is in such pristine condition, knowing how breaky plastic is. Then we also have our control for our window. Seats are also black vinyl. They have no bolster on here, and they also have no other safety features such as a headrest. So be careful, this could be a chance for whiplash. Here is our gear selector. You can see it doesn't give us a pattern or anything, but I can't imagine you can get too many choices in the wrong spot there. It can only be 4 spots, considering we'll count reverse as 1. As we go down, you'll see we have our choke and our emergency brake as well. This actually has a back seat. This tiny little Easter egg has a back seat. I'm not sure how you would get too many people in here. I imagine that maybe 2 people could be there, but I don't see seat belts back here. And the seat belts that are up here for the front seat may be aftermarket. Not so sure, but you know, I wonder how many clowns we can get in this car to come out. We do have a back shelf looking good. You can see again, lots more metal of the car. Not everything is covered like in today's cars. We do have a covering for our headliner, which is a nice gray kind of a plastic vinyl material, but it's in really amazing, excellent condition. As we enter our steering wheel, it is a really big steering wheel for such a small car, but it is a 2-spoke steering wheel with a nice black center. Doesn't give us a Fiat symbol, which I'm kind of sad, but again, does let us have the horn button there in the center. So enough of this interior talk. Let's get the back frunk open.
So here we are at the back of the car. It's actually the rear hatch. Underneath this is the business end of this car, the engine and everything. Kind of just rest up here. You can see this tiny little distributor here. It's literally the size of my fist. It is very, very tiny. There's our fuel pump, fuel filter. There's the timing cover, the dipstick. Everything's very easy to get to on this one. Right here's the little carburetor. We actually did some adjustments to it. Eurasian Bob was having some issues with the choke lever. We got that resolved. One thing he was curious about is the heater. It's kind of like a Volkswagen Beetle, how it uses forced air, but it's not exhaust heat. It's different. As you can see, it has some belts here that are running the generator. There's 2 belts. This belt comes over to run the fan. It's almost like a Porsche, but this is the water pump. Actually part of this unit here. There's water coming in from the cylinder head, and there's a hose going down to the lower part of the radiator and back through again. It's blowing air with this fan forward, and there's a little flap we'll show you underneath when we get it on the lift that blows air out. But there's a second flap that you can open on the inside of the car, and that operates the heater. Let's go show you what we figured out on that. So right down here is actually a little distribution box to go for defrost or floor. And you operate it by just pulling the lever. Defrost or floor. That's all you do there, but that doesn't turn it on. I actually found out how you turn it on behind the driver's seat, which just flips up, by the way. There's this little lever, a conspicuous little lever. It's like, what does that do? You turn it, and it actually opens a little door that fan is blowing air up through the center tunnel, and it blows it up here for you to have heat. It could probably be done just by reaching behind and turning it on, but I wanted to make it easier for you to see. There's also cruise control, but it's very rudimentary and very unsafe. There's also another little pull lever here, and when I pull it, you'll see the gas pedal down below move. You can be on the highway or whatever cruising and set your cruise, but probably not going to reset itself to 0 when you hit the brakes. You have to be mindful of that when you use it. So definitely not adaptive cruise. It is very basic at the basic level. Just a throttle lock, basically. Well, let's get this Ferrari moved out of the way, and let's get this thing on the lift so we can take a quick peek underneath this tiny little car. So as you can see, it just barely fits on this 4-post lift, and also on a 2-post lift, it just barely fits. There's hardly any room to go either way. You'll see one leaf spring across the entire front does the suspension, and it's got these tiny little center link and tie rods. So not much adjustment in the suspension if you need to raise or lower anything. Got tiny little shocks there which look good. Same thing over here, and you can see drum brakes up front. Of course, it's small and it's 1969. It's smooth all the way back, which as you can see, no rust. It's not rusted out anywhere. There's some tiny little cables and hoses and different things that go there. Here's our little baby transmission. It's very, very small. Tiny, tiny, tiny little thing. You can see it does have a coil spring on this side, and there is a shock absorber. It's not leaking. There's the brake hose. Same scenario on this side with the suspension. It's kind of like a Volkswagen IFS, where the CV shaft is part of the integral assembly here. Right here you can see, which is thermostatically controlled, the flap for the radiator. This will open up as it gets warm and blows air out here. But if we look inside that hole, you can see that brass colored flap there. That's what you open from the interior and allow air to go to the front and heat the cabin. It did have an oil dipstick leak, which we fixed. We'll get this cleaned up, but it did have some leak going on there. Here's our little exhaust. And that's pretty much it for this thing. It's very, very simple. Well, let's get this thing back on the ground. So happy Easter, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this video and enjoy a nice Easter Sunday. Let us know in the comments where you saw these little guys were stashed all over this car. Also, after we're done with this video, if you keep watching, it'll show actually where they were all at. But these cute little guys here were my daughters at one point. Also, thanks to Eurasian Bob for letting us work on this cool little Fiat 600. It just had a few small little things to get taken care of and also figure out how the heater works before he puts it up for sale. Contact Eurasian Bob if you'd like to purchase this. And no, you're probably not going to get this for 800 bucks and a box of broken dirt bikes. That's not going to work. Don't even bother him. Don't call him. If you're serious a collector, though, this is very nice. It is a really nice example. So thanks again, Eurasian Bob. Again, he strikes again. If you're curious what kind of tools we're going to use, or we did use to fix this, check our Amazon affiliate link in the description below. If you purchase anything, we get a small cut and we really appreciate it. And make sure to hit the subscribe button here because we have many more videos to come. Thanks for watching.